Hey, welcome back. Sometimes history feels like a series of deliberate choices, grand strategies, and clear-cut battles. But more often than not, the moments that truly reshape our world are born from something far more fragile, a simple, human mistake, a missed signal, a misunderstood order, a momentary lapse in a chain of events that suddenly, violently, snaps. That's what I want to talk about today. I'm Ibnul J. Farabi, and this is Flashpoints, the wars that shaped us. It's December 6, 1917. The First World War is grinding through its third brutal year, and the port of Halifax, Nova Scotia, is a vital, bustling hub. It's the gateway where North American supplies, troops, and ammunition funnel into the Atlantic, headed for the front lines in Europe. The city is tense, busy, and proud of its crucial wartime role. On this particular morning, two ships are about to meet in the narrows of the harbor, a channel called the Narrows. One is the Immo, a Norwegian relief ship, heading out to sea to pick up supplies for war-torn Belgium. The other is the Mont-Blanc, a French cargo ship, creeping in towards the city's piers. The Mont-Blanc is a floating bomb. In its hold are 2,300 tons of wet and dry picric acid, 200 tons of TNT, 35 tons of high-octane benzol, and 10 tons of gun cotton. It's a massive, volatile cocktail of high explosives, assembled in New York for the war effort. And as these two vessels approach each other, a deadly dance of miscommunication begins. See, the Immo, running late and in a hurry, enters the Narrows at excessive speed. The Mont-Blanc, laden with its deadly cargo, has the right of way. Through a series of whistle blasts, the maritime language of the time, they try to negotiate their pass. But each captain interprets the other's signals incorrectly. A whistle meant to signal, "I am stopping," is heard as "I am turning." They both go to port, then frantically to starboard, until they're aimed directly at each other. At the last second, the Immo's bow swings, and it rams into the Mont-Blanc's starboard side. It's not a catastrophic impact, but it's in the worst possible place. The grinding metal sparks. Benzol barrels stowed on the Mont-Blanc's deck rupture, and flammable liquid pours out over the picric acid and TNT. The sparks ignite the benzol. A fire begins, and the crew of the Mont-Blanc knows, with absolute certainty, what happens next. They abandon ship, rowing frantically for the opposite shore, screaming warnings that no one can understand in French. The Mont-Blanc, now a ghost ship, drifts towards a pier in a residential part of the city, a massive, smoldering fuse. On shore, the fire is a spectacle. It's 8:45 in the morning. Workers are heading to their jobs. Children are watching from windows, and crowds are gathering along the waterfront to see the burning ship. They have no idea. The Halifax harbor master even boards a tug to go out and fight the fire. At 9:04 and 35 seconds, the Mont-Blanc's white-hot hull reaches the explosives below. The ship vanishes. In 1/10,000th of a second, the largest human-made explosion in history before the atomic bomb occurs. The physics of it are almost incomprehensible. The blast creates a temperature of 9,000 degrees Fahrenheit at its core and a pressure wave moving at 23 times the speed of sound. The Mont-Blanc's half-ton anchor shaft is flung 2.5 miles through the air. A tsunami, triggered by the blast, washes back into the city, drowning people who survived the initial shock. But the immediate human cost is in the shockwave and the shrapnel. Every window, every pane of glass for miles, is pulverized into a hurricane of flying daggers. People watching at their windows are blinded, maimed, or killed instantly. Buildings made of wood are simply flattened. Stone and brick structures are gutted. A hilltop neighborhood, Richmond, is essentially erased. In a single, deafening instant, nearly 2,000 people are dead. Another 9,000 are injured. And a blinding snowstorm is about to descend on the shattered city. This is where the story, for me, pivots from pure catastrophe to something else. The response. Halifax is isolated, its communications severed, its hospitals destroyed, its leaders killed. But within hours, the first train from Boston is being loaded with medical supplies, doctors, nurses, and relief workers. It's a 700-mile journey through a blizzard, but it arrives the next day, the first major organized relief effort. That train, and the massive American and Canadian response that followed, created a bond that still exists. To this day, Nova Scotia sends the city of Boston a giant Christmas tree as a thank you for that aid. It's a profound reminder that in the wake of a flashpoint, the choices we make next define the shape of our world just as much as the explosion itself. I think about Halifax often, living in a city like New York. We're all nodes in vast, complex systems, shipping lanes, financial networks, communication grids. We trust the protocols, the signals, the understood rules. Halifax is a stark monument to what happens when that trust, that communication, fails at a critical juncture. It wasn't malice. It wasn't an act of war. It was a cascade of small, human errors, a late departure, an impatient captain, a misunderstood whistle blast that unlocked a catastrophic physical force. As an engineer, I'm trained to build in fail-safes, redundancies. But Halifax reminds me that human systems are the most complex of all, and sometimes the fail-safe is simply another person's attention, another clear signal, another moment of patience that, for whatever reason, doesn't happen. The Great Halifax Explosion was a flashpoint that had little to do with the grand narratives of the First World War, yet it was entirely caused by it. It reshaped a city, forged unbreakable bonds of compassion, and revolutionized standards for the handling of dangerous goods worldwide. It's a story of a city shattered by a mistake, and then rebuilt, piece by piece, by the hands of strangers and neighbors. It shows us that our shared vulnerability is often the very thing that calls forth our greatest strength. Thanks for listening to this episode of Flashpoints. If these stories of pivotal moments in history resonate with you, please subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. It helps more people discover these conversations. And for more from us, visit our producers at Light Not Studios. That's lightnotstudios.com. I'm Ibnul J. Farabi. Until next time, take care.